Fine, you? What about, hey, Robert, how you doing?
Yes, sir. Fine. How you doing? Good.
Hey, Wayne, how you doing?
Not casual, man.
James, close in a hurry. Just grab the first one I saw.
Good to see you. Thank you.
What time do you have? I have, my watch is saying 2.
That's gonna be an interesting race.
He's out here. Yeah, I think everybody's here.
Charles Johnson's right against it.
I can beat him.
Next Charles is both conservative anyway, so it ain't like he ain't crazy.
Yep, the red road here.
I still having to look after him.
I'm gonna call the recess meeting to order, and let's all stand and have the invocation and the pledge.
Let us pray. Our Father, just thank you so much for this beautiful day. God, we thank you for the rain that we've had, Lord, to nourish the crops. God, we just thank you that we can come together to discuss the business of Nash County. God, we may all be different, God, but we all have one main concern, and that's to do what's right for the county and for their citizens. So be with each one of us as we make our decisions. And God, may it be the things that you would have us to do. And forgive us for the many times that we fail. In your blessed name, amen. Amen.
Everybody flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Well, the first thing on the agenda is a resolution approving the contract for capital outlay for the National Rocky Mountain Schools.
Mr. Chairman, as you and the board members know, this was on our earlier agenda this month. It is a resolution requested by the National Rocky Mountain School Board of Education in order to enter a lease purchase agreement pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes. The purchase agreement is with Key Government Finance. Schools are not requesting any additional funds, but by adopting the resolution, they are asking our board to agree to appropriate the amount needed each year within our regular capital outlay appropriation in order that this lease purchase agreement may be valid. And I believe that there's some representatives from the school system that are here today, Mr. Chairman, that would like to speak.
Okay, yes, you may come up.
Good afternoon. I'm Jane Finch. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Nash Rocky Mountain Schools. I hope I can answer your questions. I'm going to explain what we're doing. I've brought with me today, just in case you had more questions, I've got Stephen Holler. He's the systems engineer for Cisco. I have Matt Cobb. He is the region person for Cisco. Cynthia Bowles is our account manager for Cisco. And JR, my senior engineer. And Dr. Eric Cunningham, he's the associate superintendent. So, okay. And I'm just going to kind of go through, if that's okay, with what we're requesting, what I'm asking for. Our infrastructure is very aged. We're trying to replace and stay within budgetary means. What we saw last year as we were going through, I kept a record of everything we spent trying to keep our technology upgraded. Last year I spent $359,435.19. That was basically keeping the network running system-wide, getting upgrades as needed, base modules, switches, routers. I knew that my fear was that we would not be able to, with the infrastructure aging, that in the coming years, everything was going to start breaking, and we wouldn't have the funds to supply what we needed. Basically, what we need is a whole lot of new equipment. And you guys know technology changes every day, and a lot of times this is just not feasible to buy everything you need. So started looking around, talking to different organizations. I met with Cisco, and they told me about a 5-year infrastructure plan. First, I was like, not sure I understand or know what that's all about. So they came and met with us on several occasions. First of all, the major benefit, and I'll go through some of the other things, but the major benefit, this would be a set cost every year for the middle and high schools. What my plan is to take it for the middle and high schools. We're in good shape, in my eyes, fairly good shape with some of that equipment that could run elementary schools. Our issue, as you know, we're 1-to-1 now, and we're fixing to go the fiber way to have better connectivity, and our equipment is just old. So we're having to upgrade as we go along. If we would have a major failure in the next school year, that 300 and some thousand that I give you, that figure would be tremendously more. What this would allow is Cisco would come in and replace equipment. That's all on them. This is a purchase lease. I would pay that one fee yearly. They would come in, replace the middle and high school equipment. We would probably do school at the time so it wouldn't disrupt the entire, system. We would work around, we would work around the school day so it wouldn't disrupt connectivity. Once we would get it all replaced, we can manage it from the cloud. And I know you hear cloud all the time, and so I'm not trying to insult anybody, but I just wanted to make sure the main difference is through the cloud, we could manage it. If something happened, we could go in at night at home, and actually it's web. You could go to the web and see what the issue is. This would actually point us to the exact spot of where the issue is. You would know which switch. If it was something bad, Cisco would be responsible for the replacement cost. So I wanted to make sure everybody was, when I say the flat fee was $297,149.57 according to the resolution, that's the fee we would pay, no matter how many breakages or incidents we would have. The main benefit to me, well, several, is the children. I want the children to have solid connectivity daily and for instructional purposes. And with our aging equipment in the high schools, I cannot guarantee that. I will do everything I can, no matter what, to make sure the connectivity is, 100%. But I know with the technology changing, the strain we're putting, we're going to have some new equipment. This, to me, was the only way, the only safe, realistic way that we could do it and stay in a budget, a budgetary means. I do want to emphasize, I took the money, I know you have a copy of our budget. This is going to come from PRC 031. I took the money I already had in my budget for the coming up school year. I just took it and out of a one-line item and moved it so you would know exactly what we were paying for the lease. We call that line item the Cisco lease line item. And I believe that's already in the budget. You should have seen that. So it's no additional funds. It's actually going to be less than we paid this past year for the repairs, the switches, and the routers. Make sure I've hit everything before I turn it. It's easy to configure. That's a good thing. Technology can be very complicated. We will not have to bring in people. After this is set up for us, my system engineer, J.R. Williams, he will be able to maintain that between J.R., myself, and the technicians. We would be able to man that. The wonderful thing of it is it's so clear visibility. No matter where I'm at, if I am out of town, I can log in and still make changes and make sure everything is running. And the deterministic cost, I just worry that I like to know in my personal life how much I'm going to owe monthly for my house. I don't want it to fluctuate $200,000 a month. But you know what I'm saying? And I worry with the older infrastructure, we are going to have some schools that are going to go down. Do you have any questions for me?
Fellow members, do you have any questions?
If I cannot answer them, I will direct them to our engineer.
May I ask?
I recognize Commissioner
go ahead.
Davis and then
Go ahead.
Commissioner Morgan.
Okay?
Thank you, Jane, for that explanation. I already know quite a bit more than I did. At the end of the 5 years, does the process start over again?
Okay,
Or
we have options, and I'm sorry I didn't address
that's okay.
that. Okay, at the end of 5 years, you can either continue the lease, or you can stop it altogether and buy it out for fair market value, or you could stop it and do a new one. With technology like it is, I'm going to look optimistically and hope it would go down some in cost. So for today, I would like to just say purchase to lease and see what happens at the end of the 5 years, and hopefully get a lower rate for the next 5 if we so continue to do this.
and you're speaking of maintaining what you would have then, or start over replacing at a lower rate?
Whichever one would be the cost, deterministic cost. And I am very concerned, budget time, trying to get the best for the children and also keep a solid infrastructure.
Is the fair market value determined up front, or is that determined at that time?
Let me turn around and ask Cynthia for sure. I believe at that time, Ms. Bowles, at that time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Morgan?
The depreciation then would be at that time, what you would declare at that time, not later on.
Yes, sir. And we've done the things such as lease laptops or computers, and it's always at the end. It's so cheap. If you wanted to buy it, you could very much afford it.
Well, it wouldn't be feasible to buy it if you're leasing it, and then after you're using it so many years, you may be buying something obsolete, right?
Right, and that's why I say let's don't determine but 5 years. I would hate to sit here today and tell you 5 years from now, because you read in the paper, you know how much technology changes daily. I just don't know what the future holds. I do know things are exploding every day, getting bigger and bigger with technology. I would like to wait till the end and see where we stand. The equipment we're getting now, of course, it would last more than 5 years. You know. What we've got now is much older than 5 years, but I don't know how, with what we would be adding within those 5 years, the new technologies. I'm sure things are coming out with the Google glasses and everything else for the children. I don't know what it would entail, so I wanted to start. I've been looking at doing a process. I've been working on this for about 2 years, looking at trying to figure out how we can replace what we have, stay abreast, and still stay within the budget. This is the only way I see we can ever stay in the budget, because if we were going to buy this equipment today for what they are leasing it for us, we could not do it.
How much can the people that pays the money out, how much can the taxpayer stand? Can he stand all this new equipment at one time, lease on it?
It's in my budget. I'm not sure I'm going to answer it correctly. It's no additional money. This is coming from a budget I already have. I'm just, instead of spending as needed like I did last year, going and setting this money aside from my budget that I already have to pay for this.
In other words, they're not asking for anything
No.
else, it's already budgeted, they just want to move the money from one account to the other, so it's not going to cost the taxpayers any more money
No.
than they're already paying.
I would say less.
Just a couple of things.
Yep.
I appreciate you coming today and sharing this information with us. I had previously received some information from the superintendent, and I appreciate that as well. But start off with, don't we have a program where we partner with Nash Community College, and they actually teach this networking program out there?
Okay,
And
they
does that
have-
have any relationship with this contract, or how does?
They wouldn't have any relationship. We have a great partnership with Nash Community College. I always have, even when I was in the CTE area. Our students go and take courses with them lots of times. The only main partnership I would say that we have so far is connectivity and working with them will be the early college. You know, we help keep their WAPs maintained, their wireless access points maintained, and we always make sure they're up. Jonathan Vester is the one I talk to. Mr. Vester and I work together if it's anything ever dealing with Nash and Nash Community and Nash Rocky Mount Schools.
Is that partially funded through public school system, or is that totally funded through Nash Community, or how is that program?
That
funded?
early college program?
Well, this program where you teach this Cisco out there.
Okay, the Cisco, what they would, if we teach Cisco, we would take our children, like, Northern Nash has a Cisco program.
Right.
So they can go out
They
there and take.
all go to Nash Community.
And, right, and then they bus and go over there. We furnish the transportation, and the books, and they would furnish they furnish their
Nash
instructor.
Community just teach our high school kids?
It's
or-
everybody in the mix,
But is it just our high school kids, or is it just population in general?
population in general, yes, sir.
Okay. Do we fund any of that out there?
The books, we have, if it's still, and I don't want to speak and be incorrect, when I was the CTE person, we had to pay for the books and supplies, they furnished the instructor.
Nash Community.
Yes, sir, Dr. Carver and I kind of worked it out. He would pay for the instructor part, and I would pay for
When
the.
we first got this, I didn't know if it had anything to do with that or not.
It does not, it does
Do
not.
we currently have a lease for computer equipment?
Uh,
Like we're getting ready to go into this lease?
I'm talking about our laptops that we've done in the past, Dell computer desktops that we've done in the past.
But you're getting ready to go to a 5-year lease with Cisco.
That has nothing to do now with the actual device. This is for the infrastructure.
Okay.
I just wanna
Do we currently have any kind of lease for anything like that now?
We have a lease we've leased Dell laptops in the past. They're paid, it's paid
That
off.
lease is
It's paid off.
closing out?
It's paid in full,
There's no
yes, sir.
overlap there?
No, sir.
Okay, and you indicated the middle and high schools will be covered by this?
Yes, sir.
What about, you say elementary is not a big concern, why would that?
Okay, now, if I said that, I'm sure I did, I don't mean that. What I'm saying to you is the elementary schools are basically iPads.
I think you said they were in good shape.
When I say they're in good shape, they will be in good shape when we take some of the equipment we have at these high schools. What we pull out, we're not going to get rid of. We have like Rocky Mount High, for example.
So they'll work for the elementary, but they're not adequate for middle school or high
Yes,
school?
let me give you an example. When we,
Just trying to understand.
I know. The elementary schools, they pretty much have, if you go on a typical one, you're going to have a cart of probably laptops that they use in the library. You're going to have one-to-one from 4 to 5, fourth grade and fifth grade with iPads. They take a whole lot less strain on a network. Let me give you a Rocky Mount High School example. When we did one-to-one there, I knew we were going to need like 1,386 laptops. Didn't take into account in my head, it was new to me, I've never done a one-to-one in that magnitude. The kids bring in phones. You know, we don't search them every day, and I think by law, they could have a phone. They have other devices that hit our network. So we took a count and watched it one day solid, and we could be up to 14,000 devices on our network at Rocky Mount High in one day. Now, we are going to, with this lease, we're going to try to separate a little bit, have like, they're going to have to sign in, do some tweaking with the new equipment that will kind of keep the kids from just going in. They would have to go to a guest network if they have other devices, and this would give a whole lot better connectivity. Did I answer it at all for you?
Well, look, I was at a Chili's yesterday, and I
Amazed.
sat down with my daughter and my grandson and my wife, and there's a kiosk at the table, and you order and pay, and
That's amazing to me.
high-tech world.
I did the same thing, and I'm like,
Where's the
wow.
waitress? That's what I'm looking, the waitress.
Yeah. She said, "You won't even need me." I went same place,
Yeah.
and she said, "You won't even need me. You got this."
Thank you for coming out.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
All right, we have a resolution here approving this contract, this capital outlay.
I move we-
Do you want it read, or all of you have read it?
we need to
Mr.
read-
Chairman, I'd just like to make one more comment before we vote, to Jane and the staff members that are here. I heard a comment from a board member that they felt like by us not approving this initially, that we were mingling in the school board's, business. I asked a question originally. It's not that at all. What it is we, in the past, have not been brought these things. It's just started coming up fairly recently. And of course, I'm gonna speak for myself, I won't speak for anyone else, but when we're asked to sign off on something, I feel an obligation to at least understand what's going on, and that's what it is. I fully understood it was y'all's money. I have learned in years past that you spend your money like you want to as the school board, Dr. Cunningham, and quite frankly, I like it like that, because we can't do both jobs, and certainly, I don't want any school board member or staff to think we're mingling in the business, because we have enough problems tending to our own business, particularly some of us that are still trying to work and do public service as well. So it's not that. I wish we didn't have to sign off on your leases,
Right.
quite frankly. But someone, apparently a new attorney, has determined we are supposed to, and if we are, I think now we can set a trend, and you kind of know what we're looking for, to at least have a general overview of what we're doing. And of course, I realized we had done several of these prior to this point in time, but I guess it's just the fact that it seems to be more and more of it all the time on these leases, and what you've done today is certainly sufficient for me to understand what's going on, and I do appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I'd just like to say, Mr. Belfold, I have no problem. I want everybody to understand. Sometimes it's complicated understanding infrastructure. But the bottom line, I'm trying to actually save money because I know that budgets are tight. And we're just trying to operate within what I can see happening to our infrastructure.
Thank you.
All right, with the students as your priority. We have a resolution.
I made a motion, we accept it without reading it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wells, second by Commissioner Davis. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of his resolution, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All right, opposes the same sign. Ayes, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you for coming.
Thank you.
And thank you for explaining it so our board would understand what they are approving. All right. Next thing on the agenda is the manager's report.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I just have one thing that I did want to go ahead and bring up today. I know we're going to go into closed session. We've had our initial meetings, scoping meetings with our, on our pay study. We met with the MAPS group, and then we had a meeting with the department heads. And I believe they've had subsequent meetings with individual departments, perhaps. But we just wanted to get your sign-off on the jurisdictions that we're going to compare our salaries to. Whenever you do a pay study, you look at your either surrounding or like-sized counties that are good comparables. Last time, what we did this time, we looked at the counties around us, and we also looked at some other counties that are situated similar to us. Last time, neither Wake or Edgecombe was in the study. We feel like they are outliers. Wake skews the numbers on the high side. Edgecombe, the department heads felt would skew it on the low side. Every other county surrounds our county. We also included the city of Rocky Mount. There's certainly some jobs that aren't comparable to our jobs, but last time you did a study, we included Rocky Mount, and since we have had people go from one to the other in the past, we thought that should be the one municipality that we used. As I mentioned, surrounding counties, we've got Franklin, Halifax, Johnston, and Wilson. As I said, as outliers, we've taken out Wake and Edgecombe. We added Craven County because it's like size, about 100,000 people. We also needed a couple more, and so we included Lee and Moore. The rationale there being is they're situated in relation to Wake County, similar to Nash County. So these are the 9 governmental entities that we plan to compare our wages to in order to, for the study to make recommendations regarding a pay study. And if there's any questions regarding that point, I've got one other point regarding the pay study, and I'll go ahead and briefly mention it. And that is, we expect the information to be submitted to us in November and presented in December. We are anticipating implementation either depending on the amount of money, either at one time or multiple, phase it in over 2 or 3 times, depending on the total cost. And I was asked when do we plan to implement this, and my first reaction was next July, and there was some discussion of whether we should aim for January. So that's the 2 things I just wanted to bring to y'all, the comparable counties, and just get your input on what the study should point to as far as implementation date. And they will give us several scenarios, whether it's a one-time implementation or a phase-in implementation. But if there's any questions about the selected counties or the city of Rocky Mount or anything else, I'll be glad to answer your questions.
Any questions?
Mr. Lamb, Pitt County, I wonder why we jumped them and went to Craven. Craven is somewhat more of a closer to a resort type county, which sometimes has some advantages over the interline counties, and we kind of skipped over one that we may touch or come real close to touching. Any thought process on that?
Yes, sir. Actually, Pitt was one of the counties the last time a study was done. It has grown so much in the last 10 years, last 15 years. It's, I think, 160, 170,000 people. It's a major university medical center. We felt like it may skew the numbers on the high side. There was some sentiment by some department heads to include Pitt. Actually, when we had our discussion with Ms. Vesey, that was the trade-off, Craven County for Pitt County.
Okay.
We just thought Craven being 100,000 people would be more comparable, but we're open for suggestions, and if you believe Pitt County, if the board believes Pitt County should be included, it can be a 10th, or it can take the place of one of these counties.
I'm fine with your explanation. My second thought, Mr. Chairman, on your second point, I would be very reluctant to attempt to make that decision until we get some kind of handle on what cost we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Of course, we've adopted a budget for this year already. I don't know whether we're gonna need to cut all people's pay, which I doubt very seriously, or whether we're gonna need $2 million, $500,000. I really think we should consider that after we get some realistic number of what we're looking at to do what the study comes up with.
Yep.
It's my thought on that. Certainly other board members may have a different thought.
That was my thought also. We've adopted a budget. We're gonna try to live within that budget for the next 11 months, and to plan on doing something midterm just was an unknown that's why I just assumed that we would implement it in July. They will factor in, or they'll give us the numbers as of July 1 of this year. And if the board wants a CPI update to fully implement,
I'm really not suggesting that we wait till July. I'm only suggesting that prior to making that decision,
we
we at
have
least
more
know
information.
what we're talking about in true dollars.
Okay.
Or actual cost.
I got you. That makes sense. That makes
Agree
sense.
with that, Wayne?
Can
Well,
you,
yeah, I agree with that, but, be careful what you ask for, because I think everybody's expecting it to go way up, and it may very well do that. But, in some cases, it may stay flat or go down. So, we need to see what it is.
Well, generally, in a pay study, wages go one way. Even if the comparables indicate that we're higher than the average county, you do not adjust downward salaries. So any adjustment will be going higher.
I agree. You may not adjust down at the time, but for longer term, you may.
New hires.
In reality.
Yeah,
Right.
that's correct. That's correct.
okay, do we need a vote on that?
If there's no other questions, if y'all could just endorse the counties and the city of Rocky Mount, the comparable jurisdictions.
May I ask you one question before you vote?
Yes, sir.
Of course, I'm a little on the thick side, I reckon, but the board is agreeing to appropriate at least $297,000 per year for the next 5 years on this contract here. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
Beyond the normal one, or you
No,
talking
no,
about?
no. That's
That's part
for the 5 years that we just approved.
Yeah, that's the other matter y'all just approved.
That's why I was just gonna ask that question before y'all let me approve it.
But that is correct. On the prior matter, that's what, we're not appropriating that. The school system will be appropriating that from their existing.
From the
The
existing,
fund.
the
But their
existing.
funds, okay.
Yes,
when you
it
see that-
shows on the next page.
By adopting this resolution, the board is agreeing to appropriate at least $297,000 per year for the next 5 years.
Okay.
As part of the regular capital outlay. I didn't quite
That's the
understand.
money that they already have in their budget.
Well, they ain't-
We,
they ain't what it said.
we're not, we didn't vote to appropriate any money from our fund balance or anything. It's already, what we voted on is already in their budget. We just had to approve it.
After another $1 million, that's what it amounts to, that 5 years, okay. I wanna make sure I understood it correctly.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Nash County pay plan study be executed based on the comparable jurisdictions as listed.
All right, is there a second to Commissioner Outlaw's motion? I believe second by Commissioner Richardson. You've heard the motion. Any more discussion? Hear none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. And opposers, no. Ayes unanimous.
Thank you.
Oh, anything, you have anything else?
I don't.
All right, do I hear a motion that we go into closed session for the purpose of meeting with our attorney on matters, attorney-client privileges, and acquisition of real property?
And economic development.
What's that?
And economic development.
Oh, yes, that's right, it's written over here, and economic development. Motion by Commissioner Barnes. Who seconded it?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, the same sign. Ayes have it, we're ready for a closed session.
Do we expect any action out of closed session?
I do not.
I don't, well, not unless the attorney has something that we need to act on, I don't.
believe so.
Okay. All right, we'll move to closed session and there'll be no action afterwards. Here, a motion to close the recess session. Moved by Commissioner Morgan. Who second? Second by Commissioner Richardson. All in favor of closing the recess meeting? Adjourn the recess meeting. Let it be known by saying aye. Ayes have it. And opposers, same sign. Recess meeting adjourned.
I don't know who this Mary Wells stuff, I'm gonna get this. Give it to her. All right, now your stuff.
Oh, you're giving, but you think I need to be sweeter. You're trying to tell me something,
I need
really.
your signature on two things. You want to do it here?
Ellen said I ain't cooking a Wednesday, you're gonna get them.
Okay.